The Turn On Your Inner Light show. It's time to stop just surviving, and it's time to begin to thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Xorin Balbes, an award-winning architectural conservator and designer, dividing his time between Los Angeles and Maui, and the author of SoulSpace. Let your home celebrate who you are and reinforce your purpose in life. Welcome, Xorin.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you give new meaning to interior design, and let me put that in quotations. Could you explain that?
Well, over the course of the last 12 years in working with clients, I realized that and I started seeing that the interior design that people were living with in their space was a exact mirror of the interior design that they were living with inside of them. So SoulSpace is really about assisting people in seeing that the interior design of them internally is actually living in the environment that they're living in.
All right, let me ask you this. Based on that, what do our home spaces say about us? Could you give us a couple of examples?
Absolutely. Well, I believe that every home tells a different story, because it tells the story of the soul that's living there and all the choices that person has made to that moment in time. I've had clients in which they have lived with for years, let's say, a torn sofa. And there was a part of them that felt like they couldn't afford to replace that torn sofa. And yet what that environment, the interior design that they were living in, was communicating to them was that they can't afford. And in my world, and in the SoulSpace process, I say that you can't afford to live with that. It needs to either be redone, and if you can't afford it, it needs to be moved out of the space so that the space is empty, so that you can begin the process of manifestation and begin the process of not living with, a negative connotation that's constantly reminding you on an unconscious level, hey, you can't afford to replace me. Hey, you can't afford to replace me. I say that if it's out of the space, then all of a sudden you'll engage the process of dreaming the thing that actually has the space to come into being.
I really love the role of dreaming in SoulSpace and the imagination. Let me give you a question based on that. My parents had this French provincial sofa, I'm not going to say it's my taste, covered in plastic. And I hated that. And every time, and you can imagine what it felt like in summer sitting on plastic and getting up, the sound. What does that mean? What would that say about them? I can give you my interpretation, but I'm really more interested in yours.
Well, I think that there could be many interpretations based on the person and or the people. But I would say that, there is an attachment to wanting to keep everything new. And where is the resistance to truly living into life and allowing life to wear itself in a beautiful way? To patina itself, whether it's our skin or whether it's a sofa. It's like, where is the desire to have it really felt and look and be truly lived in?
Yes.
And not just be something that's just seen as an image.
That fits very well. I think that on some level they felt they weren't worthy and that they wanted to just keep it as is. And that's interesting about accepting our aging process. I love the word patina, and to see things as they wear away. They're very beautiful sometimes, right? Those old vessels from Greece.
They're totally beautiful. And that's what, fortunately and unfortunately, that's really what life is about. Mm-hmm. And to really be connected to the process of life and the birthing process and the growth process and even the dying process, just the whole evolution of what we're going through, and be connected to it in our environment too.
Yes, and I think if we accept certain things, we can work with them and make them fit our needs or grow from them. Now, I think that in understanding the book, there were certain changes we can make in our interior design to help us get unstuck. Could you give us something concrete?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I talk about in the book is that, where your environment is at and where the interior design of you is at is based upon all the choices that you've made over the years of all the things that you've decided to live with. When we really present ourselves to right in this moment and begin to look at all the things that we're living with, asking ourselves the question, if I was to buy this today, or if I was to bring this into my home today, would I really choose to bring this in today? And so if we're not really deeply connected to it, if it doesn't really inspire us, if it doesn't really feel beautiful, or it doesn't remind us of some, beautiful piece of our history, I say that it's important to clear that kind of clutter out, because that's just static. Those are not things that are actually like lifting us up and supporting us in a way that is, profound. And so just the simple act of taking a look at the accessories or the pieces of furniture or the pictures that are displayed or the art and really asking those questions is an important one. So just presencing the choice again, and then choosing it to be in or out is a profound thing that actually can change the environment and yourself.
That makes a lot of sense, because if we're growing and changing, the world is changing, we're changing, but yet if our possessions remain the same and don't reflect that change, then we're mired in the past. We're not in the moment. Correct?
It's mired in the past and not, truly in the moment. It's also all of the environment that we live in, holds a certain consciousness and holds our consciousness. So if we are shifting and changing, the environment needs to shift and change so that we're not lulled back to sleep to actually who we've been, but actually being supported in who we are. So I think it's really important to move things around, to extract them, to bring new things in. As we notice that we're going through a change, it's like, how do we see that change in our environment so that it's a reflection and it's supporting us in a profound way?
It supports our identity, like a totem pole, maybe a horizontal one. Well, we go to commercial break, and we will return with Xorin Balbes, author of SoulSpace.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Life, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving, and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Xorin Balbes, author of SoulSpace. Now, Xorin, how do I become aware of an unconscious attachment I might have to a possession? After all, it's unconscious on my part.
Well, one of the things that I say is that in order to create your soul space, one has to do it at their soul's pace. So So what's important is to do it like one room or one closet, one space at a time, and really just be with. It's like we're not really being with our emotions, so that they're staying, unconscious. If we're really being with the objects that we're surrounding ourselves with and really allow them to be present, we can begin to, present that which we're unconscious to. Asking ourselves the questions, where does this come from? Is it connected to anyone? Is there a memory associated with it? And allow ourselves to just sit with that and be with it. And allow, whatever feelings or emotions, to bubble up, or thoughts to bubble up. And then just allow ourselves to, take that and, almost like threading a needle to find out where it goes. Mm-hmm. It's important to, to create a loving space in the process of creating your soul space, knowing that, being self-compassionate and allowing our feelings to come up.
I think that's a key word here, to be self-compassionate. So many people beat themselves up when they see clutter. They open up a closet, or they go into a room and they say, this is so cluttered, this is so mired, I can't deal with it, I'm a terrible person. Are you telling us that we can find like a myth in the mess about ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, especially now, I think the time is now for us to come into a greater self-awareness and a greater self-love and compassion. And it's like, rather than looking at it and being overwhelmed, just constantly bringing ourselves back to, okay, let me just choose one thing that's there and make a choice about it. And then let me choose another thing and go slow with it. We've got to be loving to ourselves, and just don't go into the overwhelm. Go into just the love of each moment, and being careful and, really loving ourselves by just choosing one thing at a time. Do I keep it? Do I let it go? Mm-hmm. What is it holding for me? What is it not? It's a beautiful process of self-exploration, and for us to really be able to see how we're treating ourselves internally, so that we can begin to shift that and make choices that are more compassionate and loving for ourselves.
I think just sometimes rearranging a knick-knack or giving the painting a break for a season and then putting it back, you see it with new eyes. I think it's about reappreciating, because we get so desensitized. Now, I have a very concrete question for you. I like the way you wrote about couples who each one might have a distinct style and they conflict. I mean, we're different people. We're not clones. So how do you solve this decorating dilemma?
With couples?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I have seen SoulSpace work for couples in a profound way. Because what the decorating of a home that is a shared soul space between partners is a reflection of how they're really being in their relationship. And if they can allow themselves to come together and make space for each other's creativity and make space for each other's sensitivity and aesthetic, then they can learn how to be in better communication, because it's all reflection. Mm-hmm. So,
and you can't hide. You can't hide. Words can spin a lot of, metaphors, and we can say things we really don't mean, but this is kind of direct, and it's almost subliminal. So are you telling me that if I can, let's say you and I are together, and if you can accept a few of my things and I can accept some of yours, that our relationship would be better?
I believe that it would, because just even the metaphor of, if we are together and we are loving one another, we're both in our own separate process on a soul level on evolving. So can you accept and allow me to be who I am right now? And can I accept you to be who it is that you are right now? Knowing that we are on a path of merging and coming together and loving one another, but yet there is a separate journey too.
So let me ask you this. You're out here on the island in New York, and you've got some pretty difficult people. So let's say you have the woman of the house wants X, Y, and Z. The husband says, absolutely not. I can't stand this poodle stuff. And then he wants to make it look like the Wild West and with a saloon door, and she's horrified. How do they agree?
Well, I think that there are creative ways in which to see that environment so that both people are, taken care of. If he's wild, wild west, maybe there's an object or a table that can fit into, that kind of sensibility. Or maybe there is a room or a space that is his space that he gets to create it
like
exactly
the boiler
as he
room.
wants
I should give him the boiler room. Yeah. Have a good time. You can have the tool shed. But I like the example you gave too. I think you had a couple in the book, if I remember correctly, and they couldn't agree on much, and you were getting stumped here until you pulled out a quilt, and they both liked the quilt and the colors of the quilt, and everything changed, right? You could paint the wall.
What ended up happening is that quilt and the one place that they actually had agreement on was a starting point. So it's important when you're doing a soul space, especially together, to find that one starting point, the place that you are in agreement, and begin to build it based on that. And they had a very, very interesting process of, being able to start there and expand from there, which actually opened up their communications and their relationship.
And then
finding where they...
everything changes. But we go to commercial break. We're going to expand to there, and we will return with Xorin Balbes, author of SoulSpace.
Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is the message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers.
We're back with SoulSpace and Xorin Balbes. Xorin, what's decorating challenge? Where do I begin to manifest my dreams?
Your decorating challenge, well, I would go into the dreaming phase of the soul space process personally. And if your decorating challenge, in what way? In colors, in style, or?
Maybe in confidence. So many people I know hire interior decorators. And I'm playing devil's advocate because I decorate my own home in my own way, and I do periodically change things, and I bring in a lot of the garden into the house because that's who I am. But so many people tell me, well, we need to hire someone because we have no clue about decorating. We don't trust ourselves.
And there are many people that are like that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with hiring a decorator or an interior designer. What's important, though, is for the people that are hiring them, is to have the decorator and the designer really assist them in connecting to what their style is, as opposed to having a designer that just brings in their particular style and has, the client live with that style. Because, it's so often people live with images of what looks good, based on, someone else's aesthetic. And so it's important to really, know what you love and live with what you love and not live with someone else's style. So I understand that. And I've been a designer for, many years and working with clients, but what I really try to do is, if you look at my portfolio, almost none of the projects or the rooms are the same, because I wanted each client to really feel and have the expression of them in the space, and I was just a nice facilitator in helping create that.
So All right. Let's say I want to create a sanctuary at home. Are there any guidelines or questions I should be establishing in order to do that, even if it's a corner of a room?
Well, sanctuary. I believe that the entire space is a sanctuary. You can start in the corner of a room. What are the things that feel sacred to you? Is it something that inspires you? Is it a Buddha statue? Is it a picture of Mother Mary? Is it, if it's on that kind of a level, really to start checking in with yourself on the things that actually bring you a sense of peace and calm. Is it even in the sanctuary, the sound of water, a fountain, the candlelight, the sense of smell. All of those things to me are sanctuaries, and part of creating a sanctuary. Really heightening the senses so that there's a sense of calm so that you can connect to your inner self and that inner voice.
And by sanctuary, what I meant was also some of our spaces aren't necessarily our own. You get kids, you get dogs, you get, your spouse's opinion, but sometimes we need our own corner or our own little area where this signals a place for reflection. So would that resonate?
That would resonate. So how do you find that space within your space that when you're there, that everybody around you respects that you're there and that they honor it as sacred for you? So by claiming whether it's a corner or it's a part of your bedroom or it's even your bathroom, as your sanctuary, or a place in the, downstairs in the basement, if everybody knows that when you're there for your time, for me time, for your connecting to yourself time. And that's what helps really create that sanctuary.
And from your expertise, would there be a way to establish that boundary? Is it through paint color, a gate? I have a gate for the dog. Do I need a gate for me?
Well, I think that there are many ways to do it. I mean, color is one way. Certainly, drapery is another way. A hard physical door is another way, and sometimes just something at the entryway of it, whether it's, plants, or whether it's a statue, or, whether it's a carpet that's rolled out a bit. Something to signify, this is my space.
Well, that's a perfect way to conclude our segment together. Do you have a website where we can access you and learn more about your work?
I do. It's SoulSpace.com, and it has information on there about about the book SoulSpace and the SoulSpace Sanctuary Institute in Maui that we're opening.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. You've calmed me down already. I feel so soothed.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Have a great one. Affirmation of the week. Try using an old source to create a new addition to your life. And now for the latest medical trends. Physical activity may be what the doctor orders to help patients reduce their risk of developing glaucoma. According to a recently published scientific paper, higher levels of physical exercise appear to have a long-term beneficial impact on low ocular perfusion pressure, an important risk factor for glaucoma. Preschool children with relatively poor language skills improve more if they are placed in classrooms with high-achieving students. This is a new study from Ohio State University. And an interesting study suggests that restricting sunbathing or visits to the tanning booth to morning hours apparently reduces the risk of skin cancer. DNA repair activity may be greatest during the morning time frame. And new research from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, shows that obesity may make annual flu shots less effective. Sales of home air fresheners and scented candles are on the rise, and so are respiratory problems in homes where these products are used, according to allergists at the annual scientific meeting of the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. And for the first time, UCLA researchers have shown that the connections between brain regions that are important for language and social skills grow much more slowly in boys with autism than in non-autistic children. And if you are looking to stretch and to reduce lower back pain, yoga classes have been found to be more effective than any kind of advice, but any stretching class is equally effective to yoga. So stretch out your lower back. Well, we come to the close of another show. I have an educational website on stress management, totally free. TurnOnYourInnerLight.com, where all the radio shows with the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure at TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. Subscribe to my free newsletter for a fresh new stress management article and the health tips fully delineated with the latest guest expert emailed directly to you from TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. Have a wonderful week and see you on the radio.